Hi everyone, in this video we're going to tackle a very important issue about Jesus Christ. There's a lot of people who say Jesus isn't real. Christianity is just a made-up religion made by human beings. Jesus never walked the earth. Is that true? Of course not. First, there's a lot of non-biblical evidence outside of the Bible that prove that Jesus walked the earth, that He's real. Second, I want to ask those people who make up this lie, while the whole world know that Jesus is real, that He walked the earth because of all the evidence. So I want to ask you, why do you lie? Is it because you heard someone else lie about this and you thought, man, this is kind of cool. I don't want Jesus to exist, so I'm just going to spread this lie as well, without really looking at the evidence? Why don't you want Jesus to exist? Think about that for a moment. Because your emotions, your feelings is not going to change the truth about Jesus Christ. Now, I want to show you 5 pieces of evidence outside of the Bible, non-biblical evidence that prove that Jesus walked the earth. Let's start with number 1. The first person I want to talk about is Tacitus. He was a senator and a historian of the Roman Empire in the 1st century after Christ. Now Tacitus, he mostly focused on the rulers, the Roman empires, and he wrote this about Jesus. Christus, the founder of the name, was put to death by Pontius Pilate, procurator of Judea, in the reigning of Tiberius. So just in this small part, we see that Tacitus confirms the existence of Jesus Christ. Not only that, but also that He died by the hands of Pontius Pilate. And, listen to this, a lot of people said, no, the Bible isn't true. There was no such person as Pontius Pilate. And then they found a stone with this inscription on it. TIBERIUM, Pontius Pilate, Prefect of Judea. Archaeology proved that the Bible is true. The Babylonian Talmud. Now what is this? Well, it's basically just a collection of writings about the Jews in the time after the New Testament, after Jesus. And guess what? It also talks about Jesus. For example, Sanhedrin 43a says, Jesus led many Jews astray and enticed them. The Talmud also says that He will be stoned for his sorcery. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? In the New Testament, we also read this, right? Those Jews who did not want to accept Jesus Christ as the Messiah, they just used all the excuses and they blamed Him and said that He's not from God, but He's from the devil. He's using sorcery. These writings prove that Jesus was real, that He walked the earth, but it also shows us that He had supernatural powers. Of course, they have no reason to lie because they are the enemy of Jesus, right? They just blamed His powers and said, well, it's from the devil, it is not from God, because they didn't want to accept it. Flavius Josephus. Now he was born in Jerusalem and he was a Jewish Romano historian. And this was in the 1st century after Jesus Christ. And he wrote this. At this time, there was a wise man who was called Jesus, and his conduct was good, and he was known to be virtuous. And many people from among the Jews and other nations became his disciples. Pilate condemned him to be crucified and to die. And those who became his disciples did not abandon his discipleship. They reported that he had appeared to them after his crucifixion and that he was alive. Accordingly, he was perhaps the Messiah, concerning whom the prophets have recounted wonders. Wow, so much to unpack here. And this comes to us from a non-Christian, proving Jesus was a good man. He was virtuous. Jews and non-Jews became His disciples. And Jesus rose from the dead, appearing to many people. Now, let's move on to the next one. Bar Serapion. Now, he wrote a letter to his son, who has the same name as him, and his letter mentioned Jesus. Now, the time of this letter was between 73 after Christ and the 3rd century. He mentioned the unjust treatment of 3 wise men, the murder of Socrates, the burning of Pythagoras, and the execution of the wise king of the Jews, who is Jesus. Pliny the Younger. This was in around 112 after Christ, and he wrote a letter to the Roman emperor. He asked him how he should handle the Christians, and he also wrote how they sang a hymn responsively to Christ as to a God. Now this not only proves that everyone at that time believed that Jesus was real, also his disciples, not just that, but also that his disciples believed that Jesus is God himself and they worshipped him. This is so amazing. All these non-biblical writers prove that Jesus is real. Now here's something you might not have known. We have over 20,000 sources of which we can put the Bible back in its original form. And nowhere does a fundamental doctrine depend on a certain passage that is uncertain. This means that we can fully trust the Bible, that it is accurate. It is mind-blowing to me that there are some people who quickly accept whatever any other historical writing writes. You know, they just accept it as truth, but not the Bible. It is so strange. They believe other ancient writings, but they don't believe the Bible, which is actually the number one, the best source of history. Over 20,000 sources. At this moment, we only found 1,000 manuscripts of Aristotle's work, 210 from Plato, only 251 manuscripts from Caesar's account of the Gallic Wars. Tacitus, the Greek historian, has 33 manuscripts. Herodotus, 109 manuscripts. We can go on, but in second place, we have Homer's Iliad with 1,757 manuscripts, dated only 400 years from the events written in 800 BC. The Bible is in first place with almost 25,000 manuscripts just about the New Testament. Yes, just the New Testament. That's how many we have. Now, Josh McDowell recently said it is now more close to 66,000 with discoveries of artifacts, mummy wrappings with manuscript fragments, and so forth. Many people try to search for the truth of life, and you would think that if God was real, that He would show it to us, that He would reveal the truth of life to us. And when people found it, they would write it down for future generations. You would think that there would be copies of it. We have thousands of them. It is called the Bible, and God made sure that we, as human beings, have no excuse. Now, if you want to know if you can trust the Bible, watch this series here and it will help you out. And before you go, always remember, God loves you, and I love you too. Bye.
Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to